our podcast, Keeping It Real.
People think, oh, well, you know what? I don't want to put that extra $100 into my investments right now because I want to enjoy life. You're going to enjoy life, at between 20 and 30, but 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, you're not going to enjoy it anymore. You're not investing to die. You're investing to live.
That is the reality. You're not going to keep working till you die. Some people have no choice. I have a lot of people that are probably feeling like, yes, they know they screwed up, but they feel stupid, so they don't want to be told they're stupid. Not that we'd ever call you stupid, but the fear of being judged.
The first priority of you going to work is to build something with the money you're making, not spend it. Ask questions. People, don't just go with what you're told. Be actually taught. Ask the questions. What is an RSP? What is a GIC? Ask the questions.
Welcome to our podcast where we talk about real financial problems with real people, come up with real financial solutions. My name is Irene Meyer.
And I'm Phillipe Villanueva. Welcome, everybody. People think that when they are investing money, they're losing the money.
Yeah.
Right? It's like buying term insurance. If you never die, or if you die after your term insurance is expired,
right?
They
just dump money into nothing.
They just literally dump money into nothing, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that people think, even when they're investing, they don't realize, right? What this is about. So I just had a meeting with Rowan, my new recruiter.
Yeah.
And I did her financial assessment. Okay. And I explained to her, like at the end of it, I let her know. I said, okay, could you imagine living your life, right, where you don't have to worry about the money you're spending because your entire retirement plan, your entire plan when you're like 40, 50, 60, 70 years old is already set. It's already done. It's already been established. And now anything that you're doing with the money that you have now, you're kind of free to do.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about buyer's remorse. You don't have to worry about, self-doubt. You don't have to worry about anything because your future has already been laid out and planned out. And it's already in action. It's already in action working in the background.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, that would be so nice. Right. I said, exactly. And that's exactly what we do. Right. So when we set up your budget, we're budgeting two budgets. Your current budget is your lifestyle that you're living and what you're doing and all your spending, all your traveling, all this and all that. The other budget is your future, right? So that money that is going towards your future, don't even worry about it. Spend the money that's over here on this side, right? And live your life, enjoy your life based off of this.
Yeah.
Right. And she's like, yeah, that sounds perfect. I said, well, that's what we do. And see, the earlier you get started with that, you might be enjoying life now, but imagine your retirement and your future, or, in your 40s, 50s, 60s, right? What it would be like if you start at 20.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And what happens if you don't start early? What happens to those budgets?
Well, it's the difference. It's you have two choices then. One, you're not driving a BMW, you're driving a Hyundai, right, in your retirement. Or second, you're dumping a lot more into this retirement plan and maybe living a less comfortable life right now. Right. Because that's the thing. People think, oh, well, you know what? I don't want to put that extra $100 into my investments right now because I want to enjoy life.
Right.
Oh, great. Okay. You're going to enjoy life, at between 20 and 30, but 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, you're not going to enjoy it anymore.
Right. That's the difference of doing it earlier.
Yes.
$100 a month.
Yeah. When right now you're making money, you have the ability. You might not be making money right now, but you have the ability to make money.
Right.
That's making money is always your choice.
Yes.
Right now when you're young and able.
Right.
But there is going to be a time when it's not necessarily your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to then make the decision at that point whether you're going to put more into investing. So then 10 years later, and we did, and I showed you this, a podcast where, someone starting at 20, I did 20, 30, and 40 and investing. And the difference really was, and they only invested $25,000. That was it. No more than $25,000. Right. At age 20, they invested up to $25,000 and then stopped and just let the money sit in their account. Invested.
Not saving.
Yes. Yeah, not savings. Yeah, it's tax-free savings / investment account.
Right.
Right. So they put it into an investment, right? And they literally had something like, I don't know, $800,000 by the time they were 65-ish. Right. The 30-year-old had like a third of that. And the 40-year-old, and when I did this comparison, it was the 20-year-old, 20-year-old, I think was investing like 200. I can't remember. I'm trying to go on memory here. $200 a month. The 30-year-old had to invest more. The 40-year-old was investing like double that.
Right.
And in the end, the gains was considerable. Like obviously like 700,000 for the 20-year-old. The 40-year-old was only a gain of like 50 grand.
Right.
Right. Of
Yeah.
actual gains outside of their contributions. Right.
Yeah.
It was not, it was a considerable difference. So that's why, young people, if they can get the opportunity to start, they really should start. An older person you have to work harder if you're starting later. There's no getting around that. Time is not your friend anymore.
Right.
And that's the difference, right?
Right.
Time is not your friend. It's like, it's like that 20-year-old has 50 years to live, right? Just as whatever, right?
Yeah.
That 40-year-old has 20 years to live. So it's like
Right.
reversed. It's like reversed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just don't have that time, and you don't want to. You're not investing to die. You're investing to live.
Yes.
Right?
100%. Yep.
So the whole point of you investing money is to be able to enjoy that money when the time is right.
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 Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, like all these people that are, 45, 50 years old that I've talked to, even like realistically, a 40-year-old that I've talked to was saying, well, you know what, I'm just trying to clear my debts and clear this and clear that. Okay, that's great. Based off of what plan?
Yeah.
Right. You're going to continue doing what you've been doing since you were 20
Right.
and are still in debt. Okay, that's great, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer of clear your debts, then start everything. I do believe that, right?
Yeah.
But some people are just so heavily indebted,
Yeah.
right, that they don't have the time to necessarily clear their debt 100% before they get started. So you know what? Do it both at the same time.
Right.
Get started. And here's the reason why. Because if you can start developing the small habit of a small amount of savings and investments and protection, even just a small amount, when you started reducing your debt and now you could do bigger amounts, you've already established the habit.
That's right.
But if you've never worked on the habit, don't expect the habit to be there when you're ready for it. Slash ready for it, because they're really not ready for it at the time.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, think about it. What habit have they developed? They've developed this habit or conditioning to pay something back, which is why they think that paying into proper insurance, paying into their savings in the future is a burden. Where is it all going? Well, of course you're conditioned to know that, because all you've been doing is paying into your debt, which of course is going to nothing. You're actually paying for your lifestyle that you had many years ago, really, if you're thinking about it. You're paying for all the things you already have, whereas you're not thinking about paying for the things you know you're going to need. Like even just basic housing, guys. Like if you're looking at when you can't work, like you said, Phil, when you can't, you have no choice but to stop working. Sometimes you have no choice. Some companies will lay you off because you're maybe too much money to pay, or you're not necessarily healthy enough to keep working. Like that is the reality. You're not going to keep working till you die. Some people have no choice. Well, where is that income going to come from? And again, we could do another video on this, but the government's not going to save you. You don't have this magical pension that's somewhere in La La Land that's going to save you. For a lot of you guys who think that's going to happen, it's not going to happen. So you have to save for yourself, but you've been so conditioned to pay off this debt that you're overwhelmed by without a plan. Not to mention, like you had said, like there's no plan. Like it's like, oh, I pay the minimum payments. Like, and how's that working out for you? Well, I can't seem to get it down. No kidding. That's how they were built. You pay the minimum payment so you never get out of debt, and you're making lots of money for the companies out there, like the credit card companies, where, by the way, you could be invested in, really, and be making money. But again, if you don't have a plan even just to pay off your debt, there's no way that you're going to have a plan to retire comfortably. And I think that's what it is. You were talking and I was just like, it blew my mind. Like, people are conditioned to pay off their debt. That's why they think that putting money away to savings, or sorry, not savings, but investments or insurance is like going nowhere, because they don't see it working for them, right? Their debt, they paid off. They got a car out of it. They got some nice Gucci bags out of it. They got some nice vacations out of it, right? Because they saw it already. They're more inclined to pay it off, but they can't see the future. No one can see the future. They can't even imagine the future. All they imagine is being in debt.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing. When people, when you touched on this, when people are doing their own financial plan, right, and laying out their own personal budget, they're not doing it to control their money and control their expenditures and to control their actual plan. They're 9 times out of 10, when they're laying out their plan, it's a plan of convenience, right? They're doing what's convenient for their lifestyle and the way they want to spend their money right now, right? That's why they never get rid of their debt. You're right. They might have that that Gucci bag. They might have that, that nice materialistic object in their hand, right? But they're still paying for that 30 years later.
Right.
Right. And they don't and the thing is, because they've never actually been sat down and shown, okay, this is how much you actually spent for that because of all the interest incurred, and you're still paying for that. You've paid 4 or 5 times the amount that you thought you paid.
Right.
Right. And that's what they don't realize, because why? They're not actually calculating that. They're setting their budget, they're setting their plan for a plan of convenience. Okay, yeah, I have this credit card debt. I'm just gonna put in $50 every single month, the minimum payment, whatever, because that's all I can afford.
Right.
But next week I'm going out to the bar with my friends. Right?
Yeah.
Or I go eat out 4 times a week, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, that again, they're budgeting based off the convenience of what they want to do for now.
Right.
Right. And then when they do the things that they want to do for now, all they're doing is just adding on to that debt that they're
Right.
so-called budgeting. Right. And then and it's a vicious cycle. That's just the way people live their lives. Right.
Yeah. So coming back to like, what are people most fearful of when they sit in front of us? Like, what do they fear the most? That, now they're 40 years old and they're sitting in front of a person who's trying to help them. We kind of touched upon the fear of where that money's going, right? We kind of talked about why maybe people aren't more inclined to pay into their future investments. Is that a fear? Like the fear of not knowing what they're doing.
And the fear of the truth.
And give me an example.
Well, people don't really want to hear that they've mismanaged themselves.
Right.
And people don't want to hear that they're in financial trouble. They know they are.
Yeah.
They know they are. They don't want to hear it. Now, the ones that are, and this is the thing, even like, we're entrepreneurs, you and I, right? We are in insurance and investment brokers, right? But here's the thing: how many people can do our business, right? And actually survive in our business? The reason why not everyone can do it is because they're scared of the unknown. They're scared of taking that step where they can actually have control of their schedule, their life. They're not being told what to do per se, right? They're scared. Can I make money doing this? Because why? They're scared to take that ownership of reaching out to people and doing the prospecting, right? They're so conditioned to have someone else doing that, so they can be an employee for that person who's doing that and getting paid by the person who's doing that, not realizing the reason why that person who's doing that can pay them and employ them is because they're making a whole lot more money than they are. Right. So now taking that into the client who's investing, they're scared of, right, the idea of, okay, I've put myself in this situation. I have the opportunity to get myself out of it, but I've never done that before, and I don't know if I could do that. And they get all these doubts and all these hesitations. The same thing as somebody who's thinking about entrepreneurship or has been told about entrepreneurship. They have all these hesitations and doubts because I've never done that and I'm not sure. You know what I mean? They get that hesitation. That hesitation, they don't realize, is costing them so much money and so much freedom and so much potential, right? Because all they have to do is put their foot through the door.
Yeah.
Just get, and we said this in one podcast before, just get started. You know what? If you're not ahead right now, if you're living to paycheck right now, or if you can't breathe right now because of your financial situation, taking that step through that door is not going to hurt you.
No.
You're already hurt, right?
Yeah.
It can't do any worse damage to you. Try it. See what happens.
Yeah.
6 months later, if you're starting to see some light, then there you go, right?
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where if you're not doing well now, or even if you are, but you're not doing what you want to be doing, right? Take that plunge, take that step. It's not going to do you any worse harm.
No.
Right?
No, really, it isn't. I mean, the only thing that I think, and you kind of touched upon it, is, and I mean, coming back to the example of somebody who's going to become, an entrepreneur, like even just in our industry, trying the financial industry when they've never done it before, because we've seen a lot of advisors who go through the process of buying the course, doing nothing to help people, because the next step is actually to apply the course.
Correct.
Right? And it's like, so now you know a little bit about RRSPs, guys. You know a little bit about TFSAs. You know a little bit about what me and Phil do, right? What is stopping you from taking that step in to really, plan out what you should have been planning all along. Again, we don't need to feel guilt or shame. There's no guilt and shame about things you didn't know in the first place. You cannot blame yourself for things you were taught that got you to this position already or at this point. But now you know that there is a way out with people like Phil and I, who can help you have a debt reduction or debt elimination plan, who can help you actually build your retirement plan so you actually have the kind of life you want to live when you can't work anymore. So again, what are some of the biggest fears that people kind of, tell you, Phil? Like for me, I like, you're so right. They're fearful of going back and finding out that they screwed up. Hey, we all screw up. Stop talking about how much you screwed up and start thinking about how we can fix it. Be curious about, well, how did I screw up and how am I not going to screw up again? I mean, it's just a mindset change. It's just about how can I learn from that? Because at the end of the day, the longer you stay in your, sorry guys, your shit, the stinkier what it is. It's like that analysis paralysis. You can sit there and stew about all the mistakes, the money mistakes you've made, and it's not going to get you anywhere. Taking that step forward is probably the biggest thing you could overcome, and hopefully over time we've convinced you that this is something you just have to do. No different than telling your kids you gotta leave the house, son. Right? Yeah. I know it's scary, but you got to do it. You just kind of have to do it, right? I mean, if I were to kind of nail down some of the fears that I run into, actually, it's interesting because I'll have clients who are so fearful that, they're not doing things right. And they're the ones that initiate the conversation with me. And these are the ones that actually have their crap together, to be honest. They're the ones that like, I've been saving here and I don't know if it's enough. And I'm like looking at this, I'm like, I think you're okay. We just need to make a few tweaks here just so that you have your money working a little bit harder for you. Or a lot of the things that kind of miss out on people's plans, guys, unfortunately, is they don't have proper protection. They never have proper insurances because they've worked so hard to build up these assets, pay off their debts, right? They've forgotten one thing, right? Like, what if something happened to their income, where their family would be? And that's the biggest gap I find in financial plans, is that protection piece. They say, oh no, I got some at work, right? And it's like, yeah, no, the work is not going to help you pay off your mortgage if you were to die. It's not. And are you going to stay there forever? Or are you going to maybe be open to other jobs? Like, let's be real here. It's not enough. So coming back to fear, it's like the fear of the unknown, the fear that they feel stupid. I don't know about you, Phil, but I have a lot of people that are probably feeling like, yes, they know they screwed up, but they feel stupid. So they don't want to be told they're stupid. Not that we'd ever call you stupid, but the fear of being judged.
Yeah, I think that okay, so the fear of feeling inadequate or the term stupid or whatnot, I think from my experience anyway, and I don't, maybe you can tell me if it's the same with you, is I get that hesitation more from women. Men, when I'm dealing with men, is it's like more of a prideful thing. It's their ego, where what do you mean I didn't control my money properly, or things of that nature. Yeah. It's more of like they're more, men have more of a hesitation because it's almost attacking the ego with men, and with the women it's attacking the idea of their intellect when it comes to money. Yeah. or finance, and people like would you agree that you see that same kind of pattern?
Well, that totally makes sense, because men, I mean, don't mean to stereotype, but it's kind of true. Like, they're conditioned to believe that the only value they have on themselves is to provide. Mm-hmm. So if they're not providing, for instance, for their family because they've made money mistakes, then it's just easier to avoid the conversation altogether and just keep doing what they're doing, right? And same with women, right? Women have been made to feel maybe inferior for the longest time, and inferior in the sense of feeling, not intellectually, equal, or like you said, we're still in equal when it comes to how much money we make in the same exact position. So I can totally agree with you.
I want you just put something in my mind here where, okay, people, men, women, you are going to work, right? So the term providing, you're going to work to earn money and bring money home to the family, right? So what do you mean I'm not providing? I'm out here, I'm making $30 an hour, working 10 hours a day. I'm providing. Okay, guys, no, you're not providing. By doing that, you're putting the toolbox, you got your toolbox, which is your home. That's the hammer that you're putting in the toolbox, is that income from your work, right? And you're taking that hammer and you're putting it in the toolbox. Well, what's the purpose of having a hammer in a toolbox if you never ever use it, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. So you're taking this, you know, you're going to work, busting your butt every single day, 8, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, some people, right? And you're putting all this money into your home, but not actually doing anything with it.
Right.
Right? So now the money is just sitting there. And when I say that, okay, I get it. You're paying your mortgage, you're paying your carpet debt, you're paying this, you're paying that. That's still not doing anything with your money. You know,
No.
you're taking your, you know, you're going out to eat, you're doing this, you're doing that. You're still not doing anything with your money.
No.
Right? So let's just use the example. All of that encompasses you're just letting the money sit. Okay. Okay, great. You're making $30 an hour. You're making, I don't know, $100,000 a year, and it's just sitting there. Okay. Money sitting there. And let's even say the money's sitting in your bank account, $100,000. And maybe you're getting what? A bank interest rate point
Per bank account, 0.01.
0.01, yeah. And let's say you are doing awesome because you put it in a bank TFSA and it's now making 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's great, but the inflation rate's 3%. All right, so you're losing 1% every single time on that money that's sitting there. So you're losing money by not actually using that hammer. That hammer is weakening because it's never being used. Okay,
Yeah.
so the first time you go to use it, it breaks because you've waited so long to use it.
Right.
Right? It's like a car. Why do dealerships want to move cars so quickly and move them off their lots so fast? Reason why is because a car that's sitting there, they get what's called lot rot, right? The car actually functionally depreciates as well if it's never being used. You'll get tires that will get a flat spot on it that have been, you know, haven't. That's why you'll see at dealerships they move the cars around because the tires will get flat spots on, right? So that's why you see all this stuff happening at dealerships. They need to move the cars. They need to do something with the cars. Otherwise they get lot rot. Okay, so it's the same thing with your investments. If you wait till you're 40, 50, 60, whatever to start doing this, it's established lot rot and it's not going to function as well.
Right.
So yes, you're providing, but you're by bringing income to the home, by bringing the hammer to the toolbox. But people, you have to use it.
Right.
Right? In a constructive, in a building. The purpose of having a hammer is to build something.
Right.
The purpose of you going to work is to build something, not to just spend it. It's to build something.
Right.
So start building your future. That should be the first priority. The first priority of you going to work is to build something with the money you're making, not spend it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after you've started building, you know, you've used that hammer, you've built that thing. What do you do then? You enjoy that thing that you've built.
Right. Yeah.
Build first, enjoy second. Build first, enjoy second. That's just the way it should be. But for some reason, we've been preconditioned to do it the other way, is to try and enjoy without building anything.
Right.
And that's why people are so stressed out. That's why people are so depressed. That's why there's the homeless population is growing and growing and growing, because they've resulted to other means to find that enjoyment because they haven't taken the opportunity when it was given to them to build.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's kind of interesting because you're very passionate, and I'm sure you're speaking from, you know, the male's point of view. When I'm thinking about why women kind of stay stagnant in their finances, again, it's about the lack of knowledge. Sure, they feel a lot of guilt and shame, but they just don't know. They've always felt maybe kind of inferior when it comes to money. But one of the things that I find with a lot of women is, and I'll be honest, sorry, ladies, but you don't ask enough questions. You don't ask enough questions about, and maybe it's because you don't know what questions to ask, right? Simply like, what does that mean? And I'm just speaking from, and I don't know if this is just a me thing, but asking the questions and not feeling stupid for asking them. You know, like we maybe don't ask enough questions. We want to figure it out ourselves because that's just how we are. And everything needs to be just perfect before we'll even start. But you need to kind of come down a little bit and maybe be modest to know that you can't know everything. You can't do everything, ladies. You can't be everything for everybody, right? But the only thing you could really do is really focus on yourself and kind of build a stable foundation for yourself in order for you to be of help to anybody else. And for ladies who are trying to figure out their finances, I think the biggest thing for you is to understand that it's okay to not know everything. You don't have to be Wonder Woman for everybody. Okay. And then maybe understanding first, if this will help, is where you got yourself to the point now. Like, how did you get here now? Like, I just really like the nice bags. And again, I'm stereotyping, guys. Maybe you're not into bags, whatever it is. I just like to go to nice places to eat, right? Like, this is how I have this credit card bill. I made decisions to enjoy that moment of experience and material objects, and I'm paying for it now. Okay, great. So how do I get out of this? Like, those are the simplest questions you could ask yourselves. And I think maybe in a way, you just kind of want everything perfect. You're going to try to figure it out yourself. You're not going to ask for help. Women are really bad for asking for help. They don't want to ask for help. They want to just do it themselves. And then they, and again, if we were to kind of combine the two, men and women, right? Like, men won't, they'll just kind of internalize, no, I got to take care. I got to provide. I can't figure this out. And women won't ask for help when they know there's something wrong. Nobody's talking about this. Yeah. We're not building anything together. We're not fixing anything together because no one wants to admit that they're, don't know or can't provide.
We are so accustomed to being told, not taught, right? How are we being told? Through, the banks have ads and commercials and you'll see on YouTube videos like ours, right? Where someone is telling you these things, but they're just promotional ads. They're just promotional talks. They're not actual educational talks, right? They'll throw out things like, it's RSP season or GIC promotional rates, right? All these things where, and so you're getting these tidbits, right? You don't actually know anything about them, right? So, but you've heard about them and you're thinking, you know what, I should start something like that. So then you go into an institution and you go, hey, I heard about this, this RSP season or this GIC promotional rate and things of that nature. Can we get set up with that, right? And what are they get? They're just going to set you up, right? Yeah. And I think that's another fear factor is, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
Okay. So what you were saying there, ask questions. Don't just be told. People don't just go with what you're told. Be actually taught. Ask the questions. What is an RSP? What is a GIC? Ask the question. And if that person sitting at the table with you, or that person in the video meeting with you, cannot answer those questions, go somewhere else, right? Ask them. Hey, I've heard about TFSAs. I've heard about RSPs. I've heard about GICs. Can you tell me what the difference is? Yeah. and if they can't answer the question for you, go somewhere else, right? Yeah. Get to someone who can teach you what these things are, because that's going to be really important for what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you're looking for something where you don't really care if you're going to make a lot of money from your investments, maybe a GIC is not a bad idea, right? Sure. If you don't really care about actually making any money on it and you want to walk out with pretty much the same amount you had, you just don't want to lose any, okay, maybe a GIC is not a bad idea, right? If you're thinking, hey, I'm not going to touch this money until I'm older and then I want to worry about it, hey, maybe an RSP is not a bad idea because it's a tax deferred. It's not a tax-free, people. An RSP is not a tax-free tool. It's a tax deferred tool. You will pay taxes as soon as you start using that money. But maybe you're thinking, hey, when I'm retired, I'm not going to worry so much about the taxes because my tax bracket is lower and I just want to save this money and not be tempted to touch it until I'm 65. Maybe an RSP is the answer. There's other factors, people. I'm being very, very simple and very, very general with these terms because there are other aspects when you talk to an advisor about these tools, right? But the person needs to be able to express these things, and then obviously the tax-free savings account, it's a wealth building tool. It's something that you could dive into if you want to, and it's all tax-free. But there's all these different tools that can be used, but they have to be used the right way. And so people are saying, well, I'll just go on YouTube and find out what to do. Great, but again, you're just being told.
That's true.
Because what works for Irene is not going to work for Phillipe. Yeah. Right? Some aspects may be the same.
Sure.
Right? Where, oh yeah, we could maybe both take advantage of a TFSA. We could both take advantage of an RSP. But is that in the best interest of both of us? Maybe not.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe not. And that's what it needs to be personalized. And that's why the talk about, oh, AI is coming in, we're not going to need advisors. No, it's not, because an AI cannot be as personal as that person who is sitting with you and taking the notes and actually diving into your life.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. The AI is not going to know the questions to ask for your personal life. I think that's why you need to be in front of a person like myself and Phil to ask you the actual questions that should be asked, and not just the regular questions that most advisors just ask just to, check, ask that question, check, ask that question. And I mean, let's face it, the person in front of you who's helping you with your financial plan is thinking critically for you, because they know what solutions and products, I suppose, are out there for you. I mean, you wouldn't be in front of somebody or watching this YouTube channel if you actually weren't curious yourself about if you're doing things right. Well, imagine having a person in front of you asking you the proper questions for you so that your plan is individual for you and your family, not just for everybody's family. Because let's face it, if there was one plan that's going to help everybody be wealthy, then we wouldn't be having this YouTube video at all.
Yeah, it's if you go into a meeting with some and in the first 10 minutes they're talking product with you, people, no, they're pushing product and brands and stuff of that nature. They're not teaching you any strategies. They're not trying to find out what it is that you need specifically for you, right? The right goal isn't to sell you something. Okay, if an advisor has a goal in setting up a meeting with you, it's to show you why these things fit into your life and how it helps your plan. It's their goal is to strategize for you and show you why, educate you, teach you, show you this is the layout, right? After talking about you finding out about you, kind of laying out a foundation and the grounds, then maybe there's the talking about product, because that's the only way to implement these things, is to take the tools and implement it. But if you don't have a blueprint, you can't start building.
No.
Right. So, and and back to the examples we were talking about before. Once you start building, now you can start reacting to your life, right? Instead of reacting to your life first and then building after, start building and then react to your life.
Yeah.
Right. Because once you've established the home, now you can start going out and doing things. But if you've never established your home, why are you going out and doing things?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's a great point. Yeah, for sure. I mean, how much peace could you get from that? Imagine that, like, where you already have enough money for the rest of your life. Today's going to feel so much better when you spend money on whatever it is that you like to spend money on, right? Versus the opposite, where you're spending all the money you want on everything you want, but you actually have no idea what's going to happen when you turn 60, 65, if you're actually going to be able to enjoy anything really at all.
This was a great talk. And I think I hope people pay attention to the entire podcast that we did today, because it's really going to benefit them if they take accountability for the next step, right?
Yeah.
And by taking accountability, meaning, okay, I've done this, I haven't gotten anywhere with it. I need to talk to, Irene, I need to talk to Phillipe, because I need to do something here. Because the biggest difference between financial confusion and financial control, people, is education.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference between the two. Financial independence starts with understanding. And that's why we're here.
Right.